And so the story begins. So you read the title, over 11 million in a single month starting from zero. Now, a lot of people think, well, Dan, it sounds kind of unrealistic. But hold on, I'm going to explain everything to you, break it down, and most importantly, you're finally going to, I guess, understand where I've been working in the background, kind of understanding the business model we've built up, being kind of like a shadow CEO where I remove myself as a CEO, put in somebody else, and I'm just the guy in the background kind of making everything work here. So I'll tell you this, we're going to dive into a lot here. And I know a lot of people that watch me in the past have been interested in, let's just say, dropshipping, e-commerce. But I want you to start thinking bigger. And one thing that I want to let you know is I'm not making this a professional edited video. Rather, I want to focus on content that is very value driven and deliver something that's incredibly, incredibly valuable to everybody watching. So the first thing you have to understand before I get into this is that I call this the cake method. Now, for those of you that know, I went to rehab, I had no money, came out, it was just a terrible situation. But I had my back against the corner. And when I'm under pressure, and I have my back against the corner, against the wall, I tend to perform very well. And the fact that I had people depending on me as well really made my brain go. Now, I came out of rehab with negative money. My best friend actually helped me pay for rent, groceries, etc. Now he's the CEO of my company, of our company, excuse me. And long story short is I said, hey, let's try and do something completely different, because I took a step back and I realized something interesting is happening right now. What's happening is this grand picture of what I was doing, whether it's e-commerce with recurring, whatever it was, okay? However, I want to break this down for you so you understand something. When you see a cake, okay, you have to think of this like a cake. How do people cut a cake? Typically from the top going down. Nobody ever starts from the middle, go up and then go down, or start from the bottom. It's not how it works. So a cake has traditionally layers, right? So as you cut the cake, all the layers get revealed. Now, I had this grand picture in my mind. I said, wait a minute. I said, business that we're about to create is like cutting a cake, and business in general should be like cutting a cake. What do I mean by that? I know you're calling me crazy at this point. The very top layer of a cake is where your traffic is essentially going to come from. So we're talking about Facebook, Google, TikTok, Twitter. Essentially, these are the traffic sources. You can even group Taboola into here, Outbrain, native content networks. Again, anywhere that you can get traffic. Why? Is because the higher up on these layers you go, the harder it is to create. Think about it. Can you actually create a Facebook? Well, you probably can, but it will take you a very long time and a lot of luck. Just like creating a TikTok or a Twitter, you get the idea, right? So what happens from here? Well, I realized, okay, I just don't have the time, capital, or even resources to create something that is this massive powerhouse of traffic. But then I said, okay, well, what's a layer 2? So I put 3 in here so you get the idea, because the real grand idea that I came up with is a layer 2, but I'll get to that later. So you have a layer 2, which is Discord, Telegram, Shopify. Because think about this, right? What type of value proposition does Discord offer that nobody else can ever copy? Well, nothing. What does Telegram offer? Well, nothing. What does Shopify offer? Quite frankly, nothing. If you say, well, Shopify payments, well, that's incorrect. That's Stripe, and Stripe integrates with Shopify, thus how Shopify payments is a thing. So there's no moat over here, no moat over here, no moat over here, but what you need to conceptualize is all of these, Discord, Telegram, Shopify, where do you get your traffic from? How do people go to your site and purchase something? How do people get into your groups, to your Discords? They come from the top layer. So the closer you can get to the top layer, the more powerful it becomes. So I'm going to break this down into what we did, what I figured out, and how to leverage, most importantly, how I did it for free, thus leveraging free traffic. So what I went ahead and did was I figured out what market is prime right now, what is very hot, where is the money, where is the liquidity, and also what has a blue ocean. Essentially, barely any competitors, but I can come in with a certain model and just absolutely destroy. Everybody was doing the same model, and to answer your question, it was the NFT crypto space at the time, beginning of this year, ending of last year, etc. So everybody was promoting and shilling on Discord, on Telegram, on Shopify, And then I had this epiphany. I was like, wait a minute, here it is. The epiphany was a layer 2 is assets, specifically data that is owned by you, okay? So Shopify, you do own your data. Discord, not really. Telegram, kind of. I mean, it could be taken away from you at any given moment. However, what I realized was all these YouTubers were promoting Morning Brew and different newsletters. I was like, this is low friction to create, but yet it's still valuable given that it provides value. So Morning Brew, I think they're doing like $50 to $75 million a year now. Because think about it. The people that subscribe to Morning Brew, they are investors, people that want to partake in the investment community. That's worth a lot to institutions, to massive banks. If they want to launch something, they can just go ahead and promote via Morning Brew. And by the way, some of the CPMs on here are insane. So for every 1,000 impressions in an email, they'll charge like anywhere from $150 to $250. Crazy. And if they have 2 million people, do the math. So then I saw something called trends.co. Somebody, I think, I forgot, maybe it was Dennis or Sinbad on Twitter who put me onto this. And their model is very impressive, very amazing, and we actually modeled it off of this eventually. Once you opt in, they actually hit you with an upsell to go ahead and pay annually $300, a 1-week trial, $1, $300 annually, and they also have a clause in their terms of service that there's no refunds. So not only are they getting people to pay them for these newsletters, they can go ahead and promote in these newsletters. And this is owned by what's known as thehustle.co. And there's so many of these. And by the way, thehustle.co has over 2 million individuals, subscribers, that are in the business and tech space. That's a high value lead. So lo and behold, I went ahead and I utilized free traffic sources such as TikTok. And that was my biggest thing. Was I absolutely dominated TikTok because I created so many different accounts. And how I did that was I got Google phone verified accounts, and I would use the Google voice number to create a bunch of new accounts, because when you have a TikTok account that's fresh, a phone number attached to it will make the weight of the account even stronger. So I would focus on going ahead and providing a bunch of content in the beginning, and most of the accounts would go viral so fast. And then I would say, and plug in and say, hey, we have this newsletter, we have this launch site, whatever it is, right? So this is where, again, we don't even have everything on here. What we ended up doing was we ended up creating just a bunch of different newsletters, right? So we also had and again, this is during the peak of the bull run here. What we ended up doing was we created these low friction newsletters that what our business model was, and even still is till this day, again, when it's the right time, is that we broker deals with different NFT launches or coin launches, and we take a percentage of their mint and or their whatever they're launching, whether it's their token, whatever it is. So we'll take a percentage. Given sometimes it'd be like, oh, we'll give you $250,000 up front. No thanks, we don't want that, because we know the value. We are the traffic. So once we started making, we had one at the time, and it did very well. The first month that we ran it did $2 million. $2 million, because all the free traffic came in from TikTok, and then we went ahead and had a newsletter, and we ended up promoting a project, 2 projects. We vetted them so we can make sure it's legit. And the first one we did take an upfront payment, and then the second one I was like, no, new business model. The upfront payment worked really well, but then I went crazy building out more newsletters. So if you go to Chain Trends, for example, right? This is exactly like I said, I modeled off of trends.co. On the next page, there's a subscription. So like I said, this isn't half of the stuff that we have in the portfolio. A lot of them, we actually have equity deals in, for example. I'm not gonna name them, but if you search NFT launch calendar, out of the top 6 on the Google results, we own equity in, we own 2 of them, I think it is. And again, those deals are set up in a very specific sort of way. And the other thing that you have to keep in mind is that we just kept acquiring a bunch of different assets, whether it was Discord servers, Telegram channels. That's what we were doing. We were just acquiring at mass really quickly, because we were able to take the mint proceeds. At the time, Ethereum was like $3,800, right? We were just cashing out, buying a bunch of different assets, seeing which ones we can go ahead and scale, whether it was paid traffic or cross promotion. And the other thing we did was MetaMakers. MetaMakers, we found actual content creators, but what we would actually go ahead and do is we would have them create a brand new account, because that brand new account is under our ownership. So we don't want to have their current profile and one, particular meta maker inside of this content creation syndicate that we created. His main account had 1.2 million followers. He knew how to create content. And essentially all we said to him was, hey, we'll pay you X amount for X amount of videos every single month. Crank them out, and it's way better than getting paid very minimal for just a simple Bang Energy promotion. So again, that's how we were able to scale so fast, because we found actual creators, and we were going out there and finding content creators that knew what they were doing already and just telling them, hey, this is what we need. So again, what we ended up doing was Work became a holdings company for a bunch of different sources out there, because what we wanted to do, again, back to the cake, we wanted to own all of the traffic and get as close as we can over here. Now, think about this. You guys know Klaviyo, right? So Klaviyo worth. All right, Klaviyo's worth around $10 billion. Klaviyo net worth. It's worth around 9.2 billion. There you go. So 9.5 billion. So here's the thing, is that Klaviyo started off piggybacking off of Shopify. But why is Klaviyo worth so much? Is because they're a data company. They're not an email service provider. They're a data acquisition company. That's what they are. Just like Salesforce, just like Facebook, just like Google, they are a data company. What are we? We are a data company. We collect a bunch of data that we can then go ahead and use and provide it, in our case, it's marketing services to projects that need it. Because guess what? There was more projects that needed traffic, that needed people to mint, because there were so many, but there was more projects than there was qualified traffic. We had the qualified traffic, so we became in demand. And so again, this worked exceptionally well. By the time March came around, March, April, before the entire world just kind of crumbled, we had one of the best months ever, because at this point we had just a colossal amount of assets that we were utilizing. And with 11 different assets, we can promote 2 to 3 different launches every single week after vetting the team to make sure they were legit, like not scamming, etc. And we would take proceeds of the mint. And again, how this would work is inside the smart contract, they can set it up to, before they deploy it onto the mainnet, they can set it up to where the percentages are distributed automatically once the wallets are cleared. And we would always make sure that our wallet was also in there, and we wouldn't just rely on them to hopefully send it to us. No, it would have to actually be published in there. And we had certain contracts, etc. So that was the model that we followed. We ended up building a bunch of different assets that were very easy to create, super easy to create. And thus, we scaled it that way with free traffic. We got capital. Then we went ahead and hired these syndicators, these content creators, and went from there. Now, to round out this entire video before people kind of get a little bored, as you go down the cake, it should be easier and easier. So everything needs to be broken down as you go down, because again, everybody starts from the bottom going up, meaning in layman's terms over here, you're the last piece at the bottom, okay? Because it obviously starts with you. And then let's just say, in our case, the easiest thing to do is just throw up a quick website. So that doesn't take much friction. As you go down, there should be less friction. The art becomes a little bit harder to get. Generative art becomes a little bit more complicated to get than regular art. Then getting a smart contract developer and then linking it with a site is hard. So these are like barriers of entry, right? And then getting traffic to your assets, whether it's a Twitter for the launch, traffic to your Discord, traffic to your actual launch, that becomes harder. And to go ahead and be able to advertise on Facebook ads, for example, or run ads on Google, you can't, because you're promoting an actual launch. We're promoting an asset, whether it is a newsletter, whatever it is, a newsletter, an application for Android or iPhone, just to collect the leads. TikTok is organic. Twitter as well. We ended up acquiring different Twitter shilling pages because people were just selling them like crazy, and they were charging like $30 per tweet, but we weren't looking for that. We were just looking to acquire them to push it back to our stuff that we were going ahead and brokering deals with. So that's the very top. So the problem is that, let's just say Facebook decides to close the ad account down. Well, what do you have? You have nothing. However, this is the key. This is the key to making this all work, was newsletters. This was newsletters, and then from newsletters, because we were able to, that's the lowest friction, but because we were able to nail this down, we kept acquiring everything else and brokering equity deals in different type of assets that were currently active. So we essentially encompassed the entire traffic of NFTs that were minting out very fast. And we were taking percentages, not upfront payments. The upfront payments were ranging from like $250,000 to $500K, but we didn't want that because we knew that we would make more money with a 20 to 30% take, depending on how many NFTs were out there to be minted and kind of allocated, right? So on the flip side, if they said no to us, well, then okay, you don't get traffic. You have to figure out how to do it yourself. So again, we created this entire ecosystem where you as a project owner, you had no choice but to kind of like say, okay, because we can go ahead and mint you out. If not, you're kind of taking a shot in the dark, but we were the solution. And from there, I learned so much on just different business models following the same exact strategy. If it can be taken away from you, it's not yours. Your YouTube channel can be taken down. Your TikTok accounts can be taken down. Your Facebook ad accounts can be taken down. Nobody can take away your lists, the data that you own. Thus why data companies are the most valuable companies in the world. And if you understand this and you plan correctly, you can go ahead and potentially create a Klaviyo that was just, and remember, Klaviyo was very simple. It just collects emails, right? No, it collects a lot more now. But again, look at Salesforce. Salesforce is a data company. Amazon as well is a data company. So data is the play. And everybody who has data or the ability to collect data, you need to make sure you own the data. Discord, you don't own the data. Your server can be taken away. Telegram, your channel could be taken away. Your account could be revoked, right? But let's just say you collect name, email, phone number, etc. That's your data. You can go anywhere with that. You can create your own self-hosted platform to email and blast and provide information, whatever it is. The data is where the money is. And if you can go ahead and aggregate that and figure out a way to do that, especially the way we did it, bootstrapping, then you're going to do really well. Just don't forget one vital thing. It's going to sound really bad, but it's business. The reason why we were able to kind of bully our way into a lot of these equity deals was because we said to them to, some of these equity deals, is we would say, hey, we're going to give you X. We would like to give you X for X in return. And if you say no, we're going to go ahead and go to your competitor, give it to them. They'll say yes, and we'll beat you. So scummy business. But I mean, I'm the only one who probably has the guts to even say it. If you enjoyed this, let me know your thoughts in the comments if you want more like this. This was off the cuff, but figured this would help somebody. See you guys.